Hey, Fred Minnick here, and I have to say thank you. Today is my 15th anniversary of a bourbon-related publication. I've actually been covering or writing about bourbon for 16 years, but the first article I wrote was actually it took it a few months to actually get published, and came out on this day in 2006. Wait, is that 20? That's 16 years. It came out on this day in 2007. And it was an article for a magazine called Successful Meetings. Now, let me tell you the story of how I got this article. So I was a writer. I was an editor for a company called Networld Alliance. I was their food editor, and I basically edited articles for a magazine called Fast Casual. I was the editor, managing editor, editor in chief. I don't even remember what my title was. And I worked with a couple names that you might know. Kevin Gibson, who works with me now, he does a lot of blog postings on fredminnick.com, but he also writes for the Leo and a few other places like Alcohol Professor. And Steve Coombs. Steve Coombs, when you see his byline everywhere in the world. But we all worked at a place called Networld Alliance, covering the restaurant industry. And I loved it. It was a great job in a lot of ways, but it was also at a time where I was not doing well. I was not doing well, mentally. I was just a couple years removed from Iraq, and I needed to focus on myself. I also learned that freelance writers made a lot more than me as an editor, so I decided to take my stab at freelance writing. And being able to do that, I managed my own time. I didn't have an 8 to 5 job, and I could go into therapy every day or 2 days a week as much as I needed to. I could even work from home, so I didn't have to commute everywhere. So I removed myself from a lot of what you would consider triggers, and was able to focus on myself from a mental health perspective. Prior to leaving, the sales reps of this company had stacks upon stacks of magazines that they would get, and they would flip through these magazines looking for advertisers to pitch to come advertise in our magazines. And I mean, they had every type of magazine that you could possibly imagine. A couple of them. One of them was Patterson's Tasting Journal, and another one was Successful Meetings. I pitched both of them. Both of them replied pretty quickly and they were both wanting Kentucky bourbon stories. And the reason why is because I live in Kentucky. Patterson's Tasting Journal, now known as Tasting Panel Magazine, wrote me back and said, hey, we do a lot on bourbon. We would like someone in Kentucky who can cover bourbon. And I was like, you got it. So I started writing about bourbon for them. And Successful Meetings wrote me back and said, we do a lot of stories on conventions, and we're very interested in this new thing called the Kentucky Bourbon Trail in Kentucky, and we think some people would like to go to Kentucky to have a convention there, and then go to the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. So I wrote this story, I interviewed everybody, and it's been 15 years. 15 years since that publication, and it's been an amazing ride. A lot of things have changed for me. I went from being a freelance writer and basically becoming a contributing editor for Whiskey Magazine. I became the lead reviewer for Whiskey Advocate. I then started a magazine called Bourbon Plus. I joined Bourbon Pursuit. I co-founded Bourbon and Beyond. I started this YouTube channel. I started doing all of these things, and it all started a long time ago with me just sending out a query to some editors about wanting to freelance for them, and that's all it was. And who knew that it would turn into this beautiful, amazing career I've had, where I've made so many great friends. I've met so many new people that I just, everyone in this community is awesome for the most part. There's some turds, but there's turds everywhere, right? Yeah. And it's just, from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thanks for the support over the years, and thank you for reading my books, for reading my articles, and watching this YouTube channel. So it's been 15 years of publication. Here's to another 15. Cheers.